Welcome to my messy ass basement for my latest project. I'm indoors, it's kind of a mess in here, but anyway, good enough to explain what's going on here. So I'm just going to be running some time lapse and some photos as I talk over this. We're kind of going backwards in time. This is my new Breville Barista Express. I decided I wanted an espresso machine, and me and my wife started discussing it and quickly realized that coming up with $600 or $700 for a decent one was kind of seemed a little silly right now. We have more important things to spend our money on. So I picked this up off eBay for $200, non-working condition. All he said in the auction was that when you turn it on, it blows the circuit breaker. I'm not sure how much of that I can believe. This had clearly been into before. One of the screws was broken, a couple of the screws were missing, and once I got inside I could tell that the valve up here that adjusts between steam and hot water, that had failed, broken, corroded away, whatever, spraying water everywhere inside, probably shorting something out, and also rusting a bunch of screws, everything like that. So if he had photos of the inside, I probably wouldn't have bought it. I had in my mind, this thing is 100% working, ready to go, except for whatever is causing it to trip the breaker, which seemed like usually that's a pretty simple fix. It did not turn into that. It turned into basically a restoration. The first problem I ran into is that the water tank had shattered in shipping, so I had to buy a new one of those. Already, there's $50 that I was not anticipating. One good thing is that basically every accessory came with it. There was just a couple of things missing, not super important, but basically all the accessories were here. So I ended up placing 3 orders. I made one order to Breville. I needed the lid for the hopper. I needed the water tank that broke. And then I got the new felt washer that goes in here and the rubber washer that goes up here. I made an order from replacement parts for a water valve. I'll go more into that later. And I placed an order to McMaster-Carr for the little red silicone O-rings, for the silicone tubing, and for a bunch of these stainless screws to replace the rusted plated ones. I also got a new water filter. I will share part numbers for the orders I made. I'm no expert. I ordered stuff based on what I could measure, what I could tell was going to be right, and it all so far seemed to work. Granted, I haven't plugged it in yet, but everything seems to fit. As for the water valve, here is a photo of the original one. You can see that it's completely corroded away. I tried to do some searching by the model number on this machine, and it just kept coming up as unavailable. The only options were used ones on eBay, and I didn't really want to buy a used one. If it had been used for a couple of years, it was going to be that much closer to failing like this one did. I found on a few sites such as replacement parts, which I've ordered things from before, they had another valve that looked a little different, and it wasn't listed as working with this model, but from the photos it looked close enough. I decided to take a gamble, and it worked. It worked perfect. There was just basically a plug and play part, even though it was a little different. If you're working on the same machine, don't be afraid to order that, because it worked fine for me. Again, I say that before having actually plugged this in to try it. All right, I'm going to turn this around and show you what I've done inside. All right, here's the inside. A couple things you might notice right away. There's a cover that goes over this. I did not put it back on because I have yet to do any troubleshooting. I don't really know how necessary it is anyway. As long as everything's not leaking and spraying water everywhere, it should be fine. I replaced all of this tubing with that silicone tubing I showed you earlier. This is what all the original looked like, and I just didn't feel like I was going to get that clean enough to feel good about. The one piece I reused is an elbow that goes right here. I had to reuse that because it's a molded elbow. I wouldn't be able to get regular silicone tubing to bend that sharp without kinking. So I soaked it in vinegar, ran a straw brush in and out of it a whole bunch, got it as clean as I could. Wasn't 100% happy with it, but I couldn't get it any cleaner. So I don't really have much else to talk about back here. Basically what I did, and you've seen from the pictures, is basically removed every single part, cleaned it, put it back together. I have not yet plugged this in to test it. I'm about to do that for the first time to see if I'm still blowing fuses. I assume I will, because I haven't actually done anything to fix anything. You know, if one of these solenoids is bad, or if something's shorted, it's still shorted. I didn't change that. But I didn't want to troubleshoot it when I had rust everywhere, water sprayed. I just didn't know if there was still water somewhere in here shorting something. So now I know it's completely done, it's clean, it's dried, back to square one, so I can do troubleshooting. And I left this back off. Here, there's a triac. I left the cover off it so I can test it. I guess we're gonna see if we trip the circuit. All right, here goes nothing. Let's see what happens. Okay, something sparked. So something right around here sparked. I expected the problem to be over here. And I'd already checked the impedance across these terminals, and they weren't shorted. Yeah, 200 kilo ohms. All right, I'm gonna take the board off, see if I blew anything up.
Let me take a look at the circus board.
All right, so where the smoke and fire came from, you can see right there, that transistor. And that is right next to this wire that says solenoid 3, and I believe this is solenoid 3. Check the impedance across here, and it was in the mega ohms range, which is not right for a solenoid. But then I found that I almost have a short from ground to this terminal. So I think this solenoid might be fried. I'm going to take it apart and find out. So here's a normal solenoid, got about 670 ohms, and neither of them are connected to ground. Here's the bad one, way up in the mega ohms, only 200 ohms to ground. So that's probably what blew our transistor. I already took the nut off the top. This is supposed to just pull off, I think, but it's not budging. So I'm going to take this side off and just make sure it pulls off easy. That is how it's supposed to come off. Oh, cool, I just broke it. Okay then, I think I need to order one of these. I guess we'll bring you back in a week. See, I don't just buy shitty blazers, I also buy shitty coffee machines. Okay, it's the end of the week, and I just got my new valve. This is the part number for that valve. I just got it off eBay. And this one really bugs me that I had to buy this. I don't think I noticed all the replacements for this now have plastic bodies instead of metal. Not that the metal did this any favors, it still failed. What also bothers me, that this was about 80 bucks. Before this, I was safely saving money on this espresso machine. After having to buy this, I'm now well into the range that I could have got a good working used one. I'm gonna put this in. Unfortunately, I don't have this triac yet. I've ordered it, it's 59 cents. I ordered it with a box of other stuff I needed and it hasn't shown up yet. Guess we'll just slap this in. All right, just to show you what good solenoids look like. 660, almost 660, 651. And then to ground, nothing, 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 nothing. So if you have one of these and you're wondering if these solenoids are good, you want to have no connection to ground, but across the top two terminals, apparently you're going to want around 650, 660 ohms. Another small change I made, replacing most of these cramp-on connectors with Wago connectors. I guess now I am stuck waiting for the triac right here. And another fun thing I encountered, I got my order from Breville, which was the fiber washer down in here, shower head washer up here, and the bean hopper lid, and the most important part, the water tank. It showed up broken. So they're sending me another one. So that's how this project's going. But with any luck, that water tank will show up and I'll get that triac and I'll be making some espresso. Well, I think I just made this way dumber than it needed to be. I decided since one of those other solenoids failed, I might as well check the pump solenoid just to make sure. Open. So my pump's bad. That means my valve was bad, my pump was bad, one of the two solenoids was bad. And that's just what I know of. I feel like the guy that sold this knew it was way worse than just something on the high voltage end shorted. But the thing with these, it has an internal diode. I assume that internal diode has failed open because this does not look burned or anything like it's been melted. So I'm gonna try cutting in here and try to find the diode. What do I have to lose? All right, much grinding with the Dremel and some excavating with a soldering iron later. Here's what I have. You can clearly see there's a diode, 37 ohms. So I'm gonna start prying that up. And there you go. Well, I just dug through my stuff and found a diode. That guy's not burning up. It doesn't even fit. there it is. I got it fixed and bulletproof. The old diode was good for 1 amp. This one's good for 3 amps. Now it should be set. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I still haven't got the triac yet, but it occurred to me that with that triac missing, I should still be able to plug this in and test things. All that does is just takes the low power signal from the computer chip and turns it into high power to the solenoid. So without that, everything should work with that solenoid. So I'm gonna try to plug it in again, see if we have more sparks. This time I turned it around, so if we do, you can see the sparks. I'm gonna plug this in and maybe we're gonna see Mark jump again. Okay, it's plugged in. Ooh. I don't smell any magic smoke. Okay, I think that's the pump running. Yeah, that's definitely the pump. All right, I'm gonna poke around this board a little bit and figure out what's going on. It is reassuring though that I can turn on a power button and the lights come on and it does something. All right, I'll bring you back. All right, so poking around this board, it's actually laid out pretty nicely. So what we have right here is another triac. This is a bigger one that turns on the pump. Then we've got the 2 smaller triacs, the one that I blew up and the one that I didn't blow up. Those control these 2 solenoids. And we've got another big triac that controls the grinder, mostly on this side, just some passives. And on the back, we have the brain. So the question is, why is this triac being triggered when I just turn it on? I can think of a few possibilities. One of them is that it's just broken in the closed position, and I just checked and that's not the case. So that means it is getting a signal when it's on, telling it to turn on the pump. So then the next question is that an erroneous signal coming from a fried chip that I can't replace because it's programmed? Or is that an accurate signal? I'm going to tinker around with this a little bit, pushing buttons on front and see if I can get anything else to happen. So right now I'm having the problem that I seem to run into a lot when I fix a piece of equipment that I've never used, is I don't know what it's supposed to do when I turn it on. Right now it's blinking between here, asking me which I want. I don't know if that's normal, but I'm going to plug it in and see what happens again. Oh, it stopped. Okay, it might be working. It's actually trying to work. Okay, and I think this controls the grinder. We have a grinder. Okay, this is promising. All right, it's been a week. I got my parts. There's the number. Like I said, this was 59 cents. I got a few spares for the next broken espresso machine I buy. Well, I think this is the moment of truth. Got my cracked tank here, but as long as I fill it up low, I think it'll work. I left the back loose so I could peek in here. I didn't want to seal it up and then learn the hard way that I missed something. Okay, and I have one of my dad's mugs from one of his NASA projects he worked on. And it's pouring everywhere. All right, that was a dumb mistake. I found that this connector was loose, so I just snugged it up. I am going to go get the tray that goes down here. I forgot that these things like to just waste water and dump it into the waste. All right, round 2. I tightened up that connector that I just showed you. I also brought the tray so that extra water will go in here instead of all over the counter. I also brought the bean hopper because that'll flip that switch up here. Oh, and it is getting hot. Oh, spraying even more. because I forgot to hook up another hose. Well, at least we know the pump works. Remember when I said I didn't need that plastic cover over the circuit board because it's not like there's going to be water spraying in here? I've already sprayed a lot of water in here. Alright, the thing that had been perplexing me, all I had to do is look at like the first page of the manual. Obviously it doesn't want to grind when it thinks it's not locked in place. Okay, I think I have an espresso machine.